This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Collateral Damage, Part 16. When we left off, Donovan had put two and two together and came up with the Dominican Republic. And that's where he is. Angela is now 30 weeks pregnant, and she's showing signs that she's at risk of going into preterm labor. And Q, LJ, Pops, Andy, and Woody are one way behind Donovan and his kids. And MomBrenda, true to form, has dropped knowledge and jewels on everybody. Donovan left a letter for Maribel, and we don't know what it said yet. And the Queen Mother gave Q some sound advice. After she finished talking to her son, she went to her suite to help her husband get ready to go and let him know what it's hitting for. She said, "Now, Andy, I'm holding you responsible for ensuring that all of my men, including you, make it back here safely. And make sure you come back with my grandchildren. You hear?" Pops Andy said, "Now, Bella, that's a tall order. And that's a lot to put on a man's shoulders. I should have knew better than to expect for you to come up here and say, 'Baby, I love you and I'm going to miss you and I can't wait till you come back.'" The Queen Mother said, "But you know all that already."
Pops Andy said, "That I do. And you know I love you too, right? Let me make this one thing clear. Donovan might just be on his own this time. I feel like God is preparing me for the possibility that I might only be able to bring our grandchildren home. And I may just have to leave Donovan in his hands."
The Queen Mother said, "I don't know if I can live with that." And Pops Andy said, "You just might have to."
When Q is done packing, he sits all of the children down in his and Angela's suite. He tells them that he, their Uncle LJ, and their grandpops Andy and Woody are going to find Donovan and his children, and that their plan is to bring all of them home. He tells them that he doesn't know how long it's going to take, but that while he's gone, he needs them to take care of themselves, each other, and their mother. He tells them that he trusts God to give him everything that he needs to get the job done and to bring them all back home safely.
Then he asked Michael if he remembers what he told him in Puerto Rico about death. And as expected, Michael, who has the memory of an elephant, quotes him word for word. Q says, "That's right. We all came from God's heart. And when this life is over, that's where we'll return." Now, my prayer is that God isn't ready for any of us yet. But if his plans are different, I've got to be okay with that. And so do each of you. And if God forbid I don't come back, know that I'm in God's heart. Now, while I'm gone, you can't worry about me. All you can do is pray. When 6-year-old Angel said that he was afraid, Q said, "Fear is a normal part of the human experience, son. But fear that prevents us from living well or from doing what we need to do day to day is disrespectful to God, because it tells him that we don't trust him. And it causes us to hold on to things that don't belong to us tighter than we should. I'm your father, but I belong to God. I'm his son. I was his son first. He was just gracious enough to loan me to you and loan you to me. You can't hold on too tight to the things that belong to God, because he's always going to take them back. All you can do is enjoy them while you have them, and thank God for loving you enough to loan them to you. Understand?" When Angel said that he did, Q hugged and kissed his children and his wife and told them all that he loved them and headed out. In the mother-in-law suite, LJ was packing while talking to Regina and his children. Now, his kids were used to him being gone and coming back because of his line of work. But his kids could tell that this time was different. So LJ said, "My plan is to come back with Donovan and his kids. But even the best laid plans can go awry. I can only control what I do. I can't control what nobody else does. And I can't possibly know what God's plan is. Worrying is a waste of time and energy when we all know that God's record is good with us. He's already done the impossible. He cured me from cancer. He brought your mother back when she was lost. and he woke MomBrenda up from a coma. He could handle this too. Don't worry. Then he hugged and kissed and told his wife and kids that he loved them and headed out to the car where Q and Pops Andy were waiting. Meanwhile, it didn't take Woody any time to pack up his hotel room and check out, because he lived by stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. At the firm, he had the PIs who were in the office go with him to the hidden basement vault and pack up all the surveillance equipment, weapons, and ammunition that they would need to put in work, rescue the children and Donovan, and kill some people. When they were done, he packed all the bags in the car, drove to the airport hangar, and made a phone call. And you won't ever believe who he called. He called True. After her meeting with Stephanie, they agreed that True was going to need some training too in order to serve as Stephanie's right-hand woman after she had the baby and went to Puerto Rico to take over for Uncle Manny. The two women put their heads together and agreed that Woody would be the best mentor and instructor, because next to Q and LJ, that man was official. Plus, he wasn't likely to go and tell a soul about it. And they were right. It didn't take much trying for True to get Woody to agree to train and mentor her. And he didn't even ask a lot of questions. With her oldest sister Morgan back home and practically taking over the restaurant, and her parents not even considering how she might feel about it, she had plenty of time on her hands. And traveling was what she did with it. Lucky for her, she didn't have to pay for it, because Stephanie was footing the bill. Woody, being a one-man show, was relieved to have somebody else who he could delegate some of the smaller tasks to on the jobs that he was assigned, while he focused on the larger, dirtier tasks. Unless Q or LJ assigned one of the PIs at the firm to work with him, he never involved anybody else in the work that he put in. And he found that True's personality and appearance was perfect for his needs. She was able to be present without being seen. Now, True was drop dead gorgeous and her body was banging, but she knew how to dress it down, blend in, look nondescript, and move in and out while staying under the radar. And her small stature made that real easy. And Woody didn't even want to know why True wanted to learn how to spy on, track, trace, trap, and kill people. He lived by the motto, ask no questions and I'll tell you no lies. So he did all that in his sleep, and it was nothing for him to teach her how to do it. Plus, she was an easy study. While she was small, she packed a hell of a punch, was already good with firearms, and she could even box and wrestle a little bit. The only issue was he wanted another taste. Now, Woody wasn't the relationship type. His personality and line of business just didn't make room for it. But what he experienced that one night with True, coupled with the way she handled him, had his mind reeling. And to add insult to injury, she wasn't lying when she said she didn't remember nothing. So he wanted at least one more chance to leave her with something she would never forget. After she left him at the bar, he went back to the room that they had went to that Tuesday and found out that she wasn't in that room no more. When she contacted him asking for mentorship and training, he asked her about it, and she told him that whenever she travels, she books two rooms, one to stay in and one to have fun in. And if she finds some fun, she checks out of that room. He said, so that's why you was insisting that we go back to your room and not mine? True said, hell yeah. I'm not going back to no nigga room, and I'm not taking him back to mine. Niggas turn into stalkers. I might not remember what we did, but I know I always put it down. They love it here. Can't get rid of them. I'm her. Woody reminisced on that night, and he had to agree. Yeah, that's her. So when True answered the phone, Woody said, I got a job. I'm going out of the country. We're going to have to postpone New York. I'll hit you when I get back. And True said, why I'm not going? I'm sure I could learn a lot. Woody said, nah, this not for you, little Meanwhile, at the estate, Maribel is visiting with Angela in her suite. She just reminded her that she can't be stressed out. Maribel said, Angela, you have to remain calm. The last thing you want is to have to call Q while he's doing what he's doing to tell him that you're in the hospital. You've got to keep them inside. Just 2 more weeks, Angela. Angela said, I understand, and I'm doing the best that I can to remain calm and prayerful, trust God and my man. But I know that eventually everybody's time runs out. And taking risks like this, Q's time might run out sooner than it should. And I don't know if I can handle that. I've already buried one husband, Maribel said. God knows the hairs on Q's head. He also knows the day and the hour when Q is going to take his last breath. That is not going to change because you worry. Angela says, you're right about that. When they're done with their discussion, Maribel asks if Angela would mind if she stays in Donovan's apartment just for the night. Maribel says, I just want to feel close to him. Angela says, sure, no problem. I don't think he'd mind. And then she hands Maribel a master key that will open Donovan's apartment door. Meanwhile, the Queen Mother and MomBrenda just finished praying. And MomBrenda said to the Queen Mother, so, before he left, Donovan came to see me. The Queen Mother said, what? Why didn't you tell me? I may have been able to stop him from going. MomBrenda said, because he's grown, and because he asked me not to, and because he gave me this. He told me to give it to you, and it would explain everything. And then she handed the Queen Mother a sealed envelope with her name written on it in Donovan's handwriting. When the Queen Mother opens the letter, it reads, Medea, I know you pissed right now, but listen, I had to do what I had to do. You always quote the scripture, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. Well, I'm a man now, Medea. I understand the risk that I'm taking, but it's worth it for my babies. There's absolutely no way that I could allow other men to fight my battle. My children are in danger, and I'll trade my life for theirs any day, every day. And you would do the same. If you're reading this letter, that means that my brothers and my father have come to find me. And knowing you, you've probably told my father to make sure he comes home with all of us. I need you to be okay if he doesn't. If he comes home with my kids, then he's done enough. I always thought that you and Pops blame me for what happened to Anya. I finally had that conversation with her, but I couldn't bring myself to have it with you and Pops. Eventually, I realized that that conversation wasn't even necessary. I know that you don't blame me. And now I'm asking you not to blame yourself. Eventually, I would have figured out where my children are, and nothing and no one would have stopped me from going after them. Ask yourself, would anyone have been able to stop you from going after yours? I love you, Medea. Thank you for all that you've taught me, because it all prepared me for this day. See you soon. Donovan. The Queen Mother folded up the letter, looked at MomBrenda, and said, you did the right thing. In Donovan's suite, Maribel has taken a shower, put on one of his t-shirts and basketball shorts, and even sprayed some of his cologne. Finally, she's ready to read the letter that he left her. She climbs in his bed, opens up the letter, and starts reading. And it says, Sunshine, at first, I thought you were selfish for not accepting what I said I was comfortable giving. I thought maybe I picked the wrong woman again. But then I realized something all on my own. I realized that love is being mad at your man and still making sure that he eats. Thank you for that. Love is taking his call at 4 a.m. after no contact and not tripping even though you have every right to, because you know he going through it and you'd rather just be his peace. Love is just letting him get it off and not bringing up the many oughts you have against him. Love is setting boundaries, getting clarity, and respecting where the people you love are on their journey and when they're not where they need to be to join you on yours. Loving yourself enough to walk away. Love is knowing who you are and what you bring to the table, and being confident in knowing that if all else fails, you could bring a whole nother table to the damn table if a nigga think he can pull up to it with a folding chair. Love is knowing that the only way you'll ever get what you deserve from a nigga is if you leave him to his own devices. And whether he gets it or doesn't, you'll be good. Because God will never fail you. And you'll walk in abundance with or without him. And if it's God's love, he'll be back. Sometimes the best gift you can give a hard-headed nigga like me is the gift of goodbye. No yelling, no cussing, no screaming, no get back. Just chucking the deuces and sashaying away. I pray my daughters learn how to move just like that. And I pray that they learn it from you when you are my wife. Pray that I make it back safely so I can plan these dates and take you on these trips and we can plan this wedding. Love, D.